There is a lie central to American slavery, a lie that the slavers told themselves.
Slavery in America officially ended in 1865, but freedom did not arrive overnight. Many slave owners refused to go. Even after the law changed, they found new ways to control, exploit, and abuse black people. Why? Because they feared losing their power, their wealth, and system that had benefited them for generations. They didn't want to give up free labor, they didn't want to give face equality, and they didn't want to accept a world where black people could finally live, work, and dream without chains. So instead of stopping, they reshaped the system through violence, unfair laws, and intimidation. To keep the old power in a few forms, this part of history is painful, but it's important. It helps us understand why the legacy of slavery lasted long after it was over. Let us watch this video together, and I will come later to share my thoughts.
There is no doubt that their lifestyles were opulent, that their clothes were the finest, that their wives were adorned in the newest pearls, the flashiest gemstones, that in the summers they could vacation to Europe and travel and see the world, that there is an opulence that appears genuine on the outside, but once you scratch it just a bit, you realize why the South was willing to burn the entire country down to keep their slavery. It's all rotten. It's rust underneath the gilding. That once you take that top layer of paint off, there's nothing in it but a hollow soullessness. And that hollow soullessness is reflected in the way that a planter's wife looks overlong at any slave with lighter skin than his mother and wonders, is my husband the father of that child? It is in the way that the head of the household, supposedly this moral paragon, who spends all his time abusing his female slaves in one way and beating his male slaves in another, that when he leaves the home, he too is paranoid that his wife is finding satisfaction with someone that isn't him. It's fear, rank fear, that the poor whites in the community would one day realize that the reason they are impoverished is that all of the unskilled labor, and by the 1850s, a large portion of the skilled labor, is being done by those who are owned instead of those who are free. That rather than compete with their peers of multiple ethnic backgrounds for jobs and their merit would guide them, instead, that poor white man must understand that his job must be sacrificed on the altar of slavery, and if he figures that out, he might set the system on fire. It is the understanding, persistent above all others, that there is no liquid cash to spend. There is wealth, plentiful wealth, but that wealth is tied up in land, in human bodies, in the manor, in the tools, in the cotton, but not tied up in money. And so the liquid cash, the capital that these planters would spend on their lavish vacations, fine suits, and the best cigars, are taken out on loans, asset-backed loans, where their house is the collateral, where their slaves are the collateral, where their land is the collateral, that if the system changes, or God forbid, the system ends, their wealth and prominence dies with it. And so they concoct lies. First, lies that they tell themselves, that of course that child with lighter skin doesn't look like my husband, even when he does. Of course my wife, who looks overlong at one of the house servants, doesn't mean anything by that, because she can't. Of course the white men in my employ love me, respect me, value me, because they must. Of course the slaves are happy here and wouldn't rip us apart if given the opportunity for all the pain we visited on them, because they must be. And so when it is Abraham Lincoln who ascends to the presidency, he is the tyrant for the South. He is here to steal your property and take your business and your home, not because he is, but because he must be. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, hit the button so the algorithm brings you back. See you next time. There is a lie central to American slavery.
Okay, if you watch this video, you're going to see this man explain a slavery lie that was perpetuated in American history classes. If you go to the comments, you will see where I posted a comment that said Oklahoma will take your teaching license for this. Now, if you also look at the likes on the comment, we're at 1,600 and counting. So I have now apparently gotten into 2 heated discussions. One person of brown complected descent, another person whose ancestors were on the receiving end of slavery. Now, the brown complected person tried to tell me that my comment lacked context. Everybody else in the comment feed, except for that person, and now the person whose ancestors were on the receiving end. So now I got 2 of you. And the people in another comment feed about Oklahoma's education system and what that lesson would do. Nobody needed context. Everybody understood what is going on in the Oklahoma education system. They are trying to completely whitewash it and wipe it away. When I made the comment, Oklahoma would have your teaching license, apparently it furled some ancestors that were on the receiving end, because now somebody's trying to say that it ruffled my white privilege. Last time I checked, this is not exactly the island of the Caucasus. Granted, 23andMe would have you thinking a little different. But believe me, I don't, 1, claim the island of the Caucasus. 2, racist? No. More along the lines of equal opportunity offender, because if you're white, I'm gonna call you out on it because you should fucking know better in the first place. And then if you're any other, bright Crayola box color, do you, boo-boo? Like, you do you. So for the ancestors whose feathers got ruffled, I do apologize for you not understanding the context of the Oklahoma education system. 2, everybody who's anybody knows what the hell's going on in the Oklahoma education system. Everybody knows the Nazi Ryan Walters that's in charge is trying to make Germany great again here in the great state of Oklahoma, and we're just not handling it very well, and we're not taking it in stride. So I need the ancestors to sit down for a second and get some context. Because I'm about tired of this. I done already told one lady to get off Trump's left nut. I'm not going to tell this other lady to get off Trump's left nut because she's trying to argue that it has something to do with my white privilege. Honey, I don't have white privilege. Never have, never will. 1, they don't view me as white. And 2, I'm a woman. Women in the white community or the island of the Caucasus, we don't get privilege. We're treated just like anybody else. We are second-rate citizens to a white man. I need y'all to get that under the thickness of your skull. Do with my information what you will and have the day and the life that you deserve.
One of the biggest reasons slavery lasted so long was money. Slavery made huge profits. Plantation depends on free black labor to grow cotton, sugar, and tobacco. The biggest cash crop of that time, by 1860, enslaved people were worth more money than all their railroads and factories in America combined. So when slavery ended, slave owners faced massive financial losses. Losing enslaved people meant losing their entire workforce and most of their wealth. Many simply could not accept the reality. But it wasn't just about money. It was about power. For generations, owning enslaved people made many slave owners feel important, superior, and completely in control. When slavery ended, that power disappeared, and the idea of being equal to the same people they once controlled made some of them angry and afraid. That is why they pushed for a new system to keep black people down. This led to black codes and later Jim Crow laws, rules designed to limit freedom, voting, education, land ownership, and better jobs for newly freed black people. Even after the 13th Amendment ended slavery, there was a loophole. Slavery was allowed as punishment for a crime. That one line opened the door to a new system of exploitation. Black people were arrested for very small things, like having a job or standing in the wrong place, and then forced to work for free in prison or on farms. This system became known as convict releasing, and it lasted for decades. It was slavery under a new new name. So yes, slavery officially ended, but its impact did not disappear. The same mindset, control, fear, and the desire to keep power. But here is the powerful part. Black people still survived. They still built families, community, culture, and strength. They created music, art, businesses, movements, and leadership. From slavery to freedom, from pain to power. That is the true story. If you learned something from this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real history.